Welcome to your daily dose of salt and light with myself, Nadine Ness. Today, we're going to talk about Paul Chiang and his resign or he quit. It's weird wording. So I will be covering that and talking about that. And I'm going to be talking about Rachel Gilmore, who was fired or her segment was canceled. So basically fired yet again. And I'm going to be covering a little bit of American things because there are things that are happening. Today is April 2nd, which is the day that tariffs were supposed to come on. I was going to try to find to see, okay, what's happening. We don't know. Everything changes so much. So it seems that it's almost hard to keep up. And I was getting distracted because I actually came into the room a little bit later, but I didn't realize you guys can come into the room at least on YouTube and chat amongst yourselves. So you guys were already chatting way before I popped in. Usually I'm in here, so I think I have to be in the room for you guys to chat. But I think if there's a set time, it opens it already. So yeah, let me know where you're watching from. Say hi. I'm gonna go through a bit of the comments too. David asks, Gilmore has been fired already? Yes, she has. Maria, that's okay. Maria says, sorry, I've been absent. I was wondering where you were. I seen that, David. Okay. David says he just read an article on her fine. Was it from Press Progress? If it is, Press Progress is like the most left-leaning, far left news organization there is in Canada. They've written about me a couple of times already. They're not fans. Oh, saying this will impact women and people of color. And Paul should be charged criminally. He might get charged. There is an investigation. I'm going to watch that. Jonathan, you move around a lot. Jonathan Grande says, or Grand. I can't remember how you told me you say it. He's in White Court today. Alvy's watching from Yorkton. Bounty Chick is from Bounty, Saskatchewan, and Joan is watching from Prince Albert on Facebook. Everyone else is on YouTube, but I think on YouTube it starts on YouTube. It opens up the room before it does on Facebook. So I think that's why there's more on YouTube. Linda's watching from Lloydminster South. Are you on the Saskatchewan side or the Alberta side? Okay, well, let's get started into this story. While everyone says hi to each other in the comments. Paul Chiang posted this on March 31st. Statement from Paul Chiang. For the past 3.5 years, it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve the people of Markham, Unionville as their member of parliament every single day. I served with integrity and worked to deliver results for the people of my community. Interesting words. I wouldn't say what he just did is serving with integrity. I'm proud of what we've achieved together, and I remain deeply grateful for the trust placed in me. I don't know why you'd be proud of what you've done so far as an MP, considering you've kind of destroyed our country. But anyways, I'll keep reading. I'll try to keep the opinions to after I'm done reading. This is a uniquely important election with so much at stake for Canadian as the Prime Minister and Team Canada work to stand up to President Trump and protect our economy. I do not want there to be a distraction, to be distractions in this critical moment. That's why I'm standing aside as our 2025 candidate in our community of Markham, Unionville. I want to thank my family for their support and our community for standing with me as we have worked to build a better future. For over 3 decades, I've served my community with my fullest commitment to keeping people safe and protecting our country's values, and I always will. Okay, let's unpack this. The weird wording, standing aside here. Whoops. I can't highlight it. I thought I would be able to. Maybe if I do this. Yeah, no, it won't let me. The weird wording, he's standing aside. Does that mean he's resigning? That's a weird wording. And there's another thing he's doing too. He's using our community for standing with me. Just in our community, who's our? I do not want to be distractions in this critical moment. What are you guys' thoughts on it? Maybe he means like the party, kind of bringing it back to the party. I had posted something before when you, depending on which terms you use or tense you use, not tense, but I or our and stuff, or we, sometimes can be an indication of where you see yourself in that. And it's often the opposite of what they write. David says, standing aside does not sound very definite. No, it does not. Have they chosen who's going to run in his spot? Because it's kind of running out of time. Now, I wasn't planning on covering this, but I think I should. The difference between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre on how he leads the party. There is a candidate that was fired from the Conservative Party. Do you guys know what his name is? I wasn't planning on covering it, but I was just thinking about that. Let's see. Have you guys heard about that? I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Conservatives drop Windsor Mark McKenzie over death penalty comments. So Mark McKenzie had said that Trudeau should be hanged. I think of something along those lines. And Pierre didn't say, "Oh, we're going to stand by him." Right away, he booted him out of the party. He responded, "We fired him. He's gone, unacceptable." But I'm going to see if I can find the article, if I can share it. Yeah, here you go. Give me 1 second. Versus Mark Carney was defending Paul Chiang, but Poilievre instead just booted Mark McKenzie. I'm just going to see what exactly he said here. And he was a city councillor on Tuesday over controversial comments that surfaced on the campaign trail. Oh, there's an ad there, so I can't read it. Why do they have so many ads? In a podcast from February 2022, before he was a politician, McKenzie expressed support for the death penalty and appeared to include then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on a list of people who should be executed. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was asked about McKenzie during a campaign stop in Newfoundland. He says, "We fired him. He's gone." Poilievre said, "Unacceptable." McKenzie made the questionable comments on Mark and Chris' podcast, a segment of which was obtained by The Star. "I'm also in favor of public hangings. I think they need to bring that back," McKenzie said on the episode. "I want the public hanging because it's longer." This is way worse than I thought. I think they should bring back the electric chair as well, but again, only if you're like 1,000,000% positive. On the podcast, McKenzie called for Canadian serial killer Paul Bernardo to receive the death penalty. Just kill that guy. Why are my tax dollars going to keep that guy alive? Charles Manson, like people like that, Jeff Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I'm saying? If you're 100% certain Jeffrey Epstein, this is what I'm saying. Justin Trudeau. Mackenzie laughed after making the statement. Most episodes of the now defunct podcast have been removed from the web. Mackenzie, the rookie Ward 4 counselor who only just held his official campaign kickoff event on Saturday, is no longer listed as a candidate on the Conservative Party of Canada's website. In a phone interview with the Star, Mackenzie said he'd receive a call from Conservative Party of Canada representative that morning. The person asked him to send a copy of controversial podcast episode, he said. According to Mackenzie, before he could transfer the file, the person called back and said the party had decided not to move forward with him as a candidate. He says it was all a joke and we were laughing the whole time, clearly not serious at all, but looking back, it was tasteless. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I know a lot of people who've been like hurt and felt wrongfully treated and harmed during COVID are that angry that they want that to come, or they want that to occur. Like what's it called? I'm having a brain fart. I should remember this. The trials in Germany. What was it called? I'm trying to remember. The Nuremberg trial. A lot of people have said we want the Nuremberg trials back. And I've talked about this openly on what my opinions are. And some people probably will disagree. I don't necessarily agree with the death penalty. Doesn't matter how evil they are. I don't think we should be God. I do believe that you have the right to defend yourself and defend other people at the time to stop them from committing an act. However, I do not believe in the death penalty. So I don't think we as humans, no matter how evil someone is, I still believe that there is grace, that people can be reached and saved at some point, even if that means for them to stay in prison for their entire life. I know a lot of people have different opinions on this. This is just my opinion as a Christian and as knowing what God can do when he radically changes people's lives. Does that mean I want them back out in the community to harm other people? No. But this is just part of my belief. I don't necessarily think everyone's going to agree with me on that. But I just don't think we should be playing God. And for the same reason, I don't like MAID. I don't like that government is killing off people. So Squirrel says, I call it drunk fireside barroom BS talk. It's nothing burgers. Well, I don't know if it's nothing burger. If we're going to be outraged about CHIANG, then we should be outraged about this too. That's my opinion. Now, have I joked with my husband things that are inappropriate? My husband and I have dark humor, but I didn't go on a podcast and say things like, and I'm not saying I joked the same thing, but sometimes you'll say like a joke with your family member or something. You're like, okay, that was kind of tasteless. It's not something you would say out in the public, but. And Linda says, I think if you want to be in politics, you need to watch what you spout off. I agree. When Wendy James is watching from Lumsden, all we want from COVID, Western mistreatment, is sort of accountability. It's so hard to forgive, forget, and move forward. At least it is for me. And I do want accountability. I do want things put in place to make sure it never occurs again. But I don't think justice is killing off anyone. I think protecting the population from it happening again, whether any crime for that matter. And I know some people disagree with me. Many people will disagree, especially people who've been harmed, and who are still hurting. And but I would be okay with the people that did this knowing what they were doing was wrong, was to be held accountable. Like the people that pushed the lie, and I'm choosing carefully my words here because I'm still waiting for monetization. But the people who pushed lies and deceived the nations should be held accountable. Now, the people who just repeated that without knowing that it was lies, I think they fall in a different category. I think intent is really, really important here. Bounty says she has to step out, but she'll watch later. I'm just Bob Marley's daughter is currently speaking on Sean Atwood. Is that on YouTube? If you guys want to go, you can go. So Squirrel, you disagree. Some people cannot be changed and are what they are. Yeah, I do believe some people will be forever a threat. I just don't think we should be playing God. I don't think we should be taking a life because you never know. Like, just for example, Paul, who used to be Saul in the Bible, used to murder Christians for a living. I'm sure back then, some of the Christians or some of the followers of Jesus at one point thought he's irredeemable. He cannot be saved. But Jesus looked at him and gave him new purpose, gave him a new life, and he became a new creation. He went from Saul to Paul. Like, if we look back at the way God chose people, he did choose people that we would never ever pick. Like Moses had murdered someone, had murdered a guard. So when I think about when I think about how we should react, what kind of policies we should push for, I think we should look at it through the lens of Jesus Christ. And when I look at how Jesus treated Paul or treated some of the other people and how God used them, I'm like, okay, I could see. Are there really evil people in the world? Yes. I don't think it's feelings. Oh, you're saying sure, but feelings. Maria says, I think the zero accountability we've seen for 10 years causes people to spout about more aggressive remedies out of severe frustration. I agree. I agree. When my mind goes there, because it does sometimes, when my mind goes there, it's an indication that I have some unforgiveness that I haven't dealt with as a Christian. Squirrel is going to say disagree to agree. Like I said, not everyone's going to believe the same thing as me. And that's why, like, there are places where there are death penalties, like in the US. I'm just not one supporting it. Okay, let's see what else we've got. I can't say it hasn't come out of my mouth at some point when I've been really frustrated and angry, but David says, look at the collective rage against Tesla. This would not have happened 10 years ago. You're right. But so parts of me wonder, is that rage manufactured? Or what I mean by manufactured, I don't mean it's fake. I do fully believe that these people are feeling rage. However, I do believe you can entice a population to feel complete rage and want to do things that they wouldn't normally do. That's why you have like that mob mentality. And yeah, Squirrel says it is manufactured. There has been evidence out there that they are being paid to protest as well. But I know there's a lot of them that are just rage filled. and they're justifying it in their heads because they've been made to believe that Elon is like this massive threat to democracy or massive threat to personally themselves. So they justify it in their head. That's where I means it's manufactured, as in they've been leading people to believe that Elon Musk is coming for them, which and that what he's doing is nefarious instead of something really good for America. No, I haven't. Squirrel said, "Have you seen the advertisements for free bus rides to DC?" Oh, Squirrel, I meant to tell you. If you if you can send me a message, I tried to get a hold of you. I think you asked me last week if I had seen a link or posted a link. I can't go back onto Twitter and look at who everyone is commenting in the chat. It doesn't show up in the comments underneath the post. So I wasn't even able to find your account to follow you back. Or maybe I already do. They just made Elon step aside from Doge. Has he? I haven't seen that. I've seen Trump talk about it yesterday, but that he would keep Elon as long as Elon wanted to stay. Okay, maybe David saying he keeps seeing Elon step back from Doge, and this other guy has started showing up talking on Fox. So I am guessing this is the new Doge guy. Yeah, see if you can send me a message. That way I'll be able to see your account if you can. Okay, let's get to the rest. This was a interesting post. This guy said this is the armor piercing question. I'm waiting for someone in the Canadian media to put it to Mark Carney. It says, could someone ask Mark Carney why he fired Liberal candidate Chandra Ira, but not Paul Ching? I would like to know that answer too. I'm just gonna see who that guy. Oh, it's not related to it. I have the video as well of what Paul Chang said. I don't know if you've seen it here, and it is in English.
That's running, most probably is, the Chinese community knows Zhou Te, Zhang Jing, right? He's looking for the nomination. The Chinese media knows him. He was in the media business in Hong Kong, and here in Canada, he's a radio host, or I don't know, for Singtel Media or Fairchild, he was a media person. So that's all he did all his life. But also right now, he is wanted by the Chinese government, and there's a $1 million reward on his head. So they want, if you guys want to pick him up and take him to the Chinese consulate, you make him $1 million. I'm just joking. But there is a arrest warrant out for him from the government of China, and there is a reward for him. But apart from that, I can't say more than that. Right?
Wow. He's saying he's just joking and then goes on to emphasize how there's an arrest warrant for him and there's a bounty of $1 million. Yeah, and everyone who was attending, David said a really good point. Listen to them laugh and then applaud. Where were they? Do you guys know where they were when this occurred? Mario Zelaya posted it. So I guess this actually has been said. Mario's saying there's video evidence of him saying it multiple times. I thought the reason it hadn't made here, I'll just show you guys. I thought it hadn't made the news because it was said in Chinese, and most people wouldn't have known to translate it and whatever. And then it wasn't brought to light until later on when somebody kind of found out about it. I don't know who first brought it to light, but that was in English. Maybe because the people there didn't want to say it publicly because they all laughed. That's worse than I thought. So, Hong Kong Watch posted following global outrage over Paul Chang's disgraceful comment on Canadian citizen Joe Tay. Hong Kong Watch has written to the RCMP. So they written to start an investigation. Let's see if I can make it bigger. We can read it. So they issued a letter to commissioner to investigate Paul Chang. And then it says, late on 31st of March, following this letter, Paul Chang announced he was stepping aside from the federal election. Again, stepping aside. That's such weird wording. It was reported that Paul Chang made comments that Joe Tay should be turned over to the Chinese consulate in exchange for financial reward of $1 million, which are alarming to represent a dangerous endorsement of transnational repression. And the reason, I also read online, the reason that there's a bounty and a warrant for his arrest is because Joe Tay has been critical of China here in Canada because of a YouTube channel that he has where he's been critical of Hong Kong. But the letter is in Chinese, so I can't read Chinese. And Michelle says, and Carney found this acceptable. I know, right? So this is a building. I'm going to play a video of a CTV News. First, I'll show you guys quickly. There's a post by Mark Nixon. Again, if you don't follow Mark, I highly recommend you do. I'll move that. He says, liberals might have known about Paul Chang since January, did nothing. 40 human rights organization RCMP pressured Carney. He still refused to act. Now he's relieved Chang is gone. Carney needs to be investigated. This is catastrophic. Let's play that video. That's with that reporter. I can't remember what her name is. She asks tough questions of both the left and the right.
That's right. So Mark Carney is breathing a sigh of relief today that he doesn't have to confront the issue directly, that it was resolved without him. Basically, what was going on was that there was a lot of pressure building from 40 pro-democracy groups from across the globe, not just here in Canada, but also the UK and Australia, calling on Mark Carney to fire Paul Chang, which he had not done. So the other thing that was happening was that Paul Chang was also facing the possibility of a police investigation, Vashi. As you mentioned, the RCMP was looking into his case. The Hong Kong Watch was basically asking the RCMP to put in place to execute the law. So put in place, you'll recall that last year, the Liberals drafted and got it passed the foreign interference legislation. So the Hong Kong Watch wanted them to basically, the RCMP, to check whether or not Paul Chang had violated this law. So there was also that in the background. So this morning, Paul Chang had passed the foreign interference legislation. So the Hong Kong Watch,
I just want to
recall that last year, the Liberals drafted and got it passed the foreign interference legislation. So the Hong Kong Watch wanted them to basically, the RCMP, to check whether or not Paul Chang had violated this law. So there was also that in the background. So when this morning, when he got in front of the media and he was able to say, we are moving on, that was a relief to Mark Carney as well as the party. But Vashi, I should point out something. You know, he did not make a decision, whereas Pierre Poilievre made a decision to cut a problematic candidate loose almost immediately. The other issue, too, is that we're not exactly sure when Mark Carney found out about what Paul Chang said. We know that he made the comments in January, but was the party aware before it hit English media late last week?
So I didn't know that they had passed a law. Here, I'm going to bring it up here. Let's see if I can. Here's the foreign interference law. It was passed in June of 2024. I'm just going to see if I can find quick facts. Foreign interference include harmful activities undertaken by a foreign state and for those actions on their behalf which are clandestine, deceptive, or involved a threat to any person to advance the strategic objective of those states. Foreign interference poses a threat to all orders of government, the private sector, academia, diaspora communities, and the general public. Let's see what they've got here. Do they say what it is? Like what the elements of the offense would have been? Here, I'll see if I can. Bill. It's C-70. I would say trying to counsel someone to claim the bounty would be pretty big. Oh, here it is. Summary of the offense. No, that's a summary of the bill. Maybe what I'll do, I'll read this up later on, and then I will kind of talk about it tomorrow. Criminal code. So that's division 2. Let's see what. Here. Act is amended by adding the following in alphabetical order. So I'll read to you what they've added to the criminal code. In respect of a person means a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident within the meaning of subsection 2 or whatever, parenthesis 1 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, or a corporation included under the laws of Canada or province. Oh, this is just like adding definitions. Yeah, I think this is going to take me a bit to look into. I didn't even know about this. Yeah, I'll have to read the whole thing that they amended because it's a lot of information. Maria said Pat King's post nailed it. I did see that. I might have even retweeted it. I'll see if I can find it. He said, like, it just paraphrasing, Pat King says, I got jailed for a year for encouraging people to honk. And he's not even, Chiang is not even facing charges yet for encouraging people to turn over a Canadian to the Chinese Communist Party and potentially have him killed. Brenda said Pierre pushed for that law. I didn't know that. David says, is this the law that handcuffs parliamentarians into silence? The one they are going after PP for? Trudeau made this law for political advantage. No, I don't think so. That's something else. The whole not having security clearance. You know what, though? I understand fully why Pierre Poilievre is not taking that security clearance. It's not that he can't qualify for it. It's when he gets it, then he can't talk about the things that he learns from the classified information. And if Paul Chiang was on that classified information, Pierre wouldn't have been able to speak to it because he would have been bound by a confidence, what's it called? Confidentiality clause. What's NSICOP? I don't know what that is. Linda says, I think Carney is probably compromised. That is why he said he would stand behind Chiang. I'm starting to think so too. Now, there's been a lot of videos coming out of Carney's kind of alliance to the Chinese government.
The momentum behind this.
One of them. I'm just going to play it for you guys. But what I don't like is this is clipped. I would like to see what was before and what was after. But either way, I'm going to play it for you guys.
The momentum behind this agenda is now tremendous, and it'll be important that China is center stage to shape this new global, sustainable financial system.
Just that statement alone, I don't know how you take that out of context. And the fact that he's worked so much with the Chinese government and even got China to give, like, what was it, like a $250 billion loan? Was it billion or million? Okay, let's see what else I got. Pierre says something about, so I'll move on to another subject. I've got a few videos from things that Pierre is saying in the campaign trail. Here's one of them here. I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it on the.
Expanding our energy production and exports is the single most powerful thing we can do to break our dependence on the Americans. And that is the very single thing that Mark Carney has explicitly said he will not do. So what is his plan? A resume is not a plan.
I'll make it faster.
Nor is continuing with the same policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact, he wants to put the Liberal policies on steroids. His housing plan, I don't know if you saw this earlier this week, he wants to create a government-run construction company that is going to make prefab tiny homes with no parking spots. This is his idea for housing. This is even more radical than the stuff that came from Stephen Guilbeault and Justin Trudeau over the last 10 years.
I'm wondering if that's in his book. Now, there was a post, and then I'll go back here. Oh, for some reason, it's like by Kirk. I share a lot of Kirk's posts. Kirk says Pierre Poilievre is talking about the industrialization of Canada, and Mark Carney is talking about the nationalization of Canada. The choice for what path Canada will take couldn't be further apart. So basically, Pierre thinks the private sector should grow and take care of this problem, and we should empower them to do so. And Mark Carney thinks the government should take it over. It sounds more and more like communism by the day. Oh, that's why the video.
Mark Carney.
Another thing that talks about Beijing and Mark Carney. Sorry about that, guys. I just realized the video, they
will never stand up for Canada. He is keeping on a Liberal candidate who said that people should turn over the Conservative candidate to a bounty by the Chinese government, which wants to kill him. The Chinese government wants to literally kill Zhou Te because he's a political dissident. And this candidate said that that should happen. Mark Carney keeps that candidate on his roster to be in Parliament. It shows that Carney is more interested in pleasing Beijing because they lent him $250 million for his company. He is compromised. I have never in my life seen a prime minister unwilling to protect a Canadian citizen against a foreign government that wants to take his life through a bounty. If Mark Carney won't stand up for a Canadian against this foreign hostile regime now, how could we ever expect him to stand up for Canada after the election?
Firecracker says, I think the Liberals are closeted communists and socialists. The two look so very similar. One is Jonathan kind of explained it to me. One is the communism, the government owns everything and runs everything. Socialism, the government doesn't own it, but they run it. Brenda says they lent him $250 to buy a new home for Brookfield Asset Management in the US. Was it billion or millions? I can't remember. Here's another good comment. Maria says, if Libs win, Canada will be a commie country in 4 years. We're dang near halfway there now. No, there's another video here. I want to talk about it after.
As I said, Canadians have the right to know what red lines I will draw in order to protect our country in these inevitable negotiations that any future prime minister will have to have and have quickly. So let me be clear. First, I will protect our control over our border, our security, our resources, our farmers, including our supply managed farmers, our fresh water, our automotive workers. Also, we will protect our sovereignty, our laws, our currency, our dollar, our land, our waters, our sky, our culture, our official languages, and our resources and indigenous rights will not be under the control of any other country. This is non-negotiable. We will protect Canada's sovereignty in any negotiations. Second, for years, the Americans have demanded we do more in defense. The truth is, Canadians have been demanding exactly the same thing. And so I will commit that any extra revenue generated from expanded trade with the United States will go right into our armed forces. We will hit our 2%. We will take back control of our Arctic waters from the Chinese and the Russians. We will rebuild our military and will become a truly sovereign nation with a strong armed forces that can protect us.
Here you go. This is what Rupa said on that video. I will protect our supply managed farmers, says self-professed libertarian and free marketeer Pierre Poilievre. His intellectual gurus, Hayek and Friedman, must be spinning in their graves. Quite apart from that, the Canada section of the recently released 2025 National Trade Estimate Report on Foreign Trade Barriers by U.S. Trade Rep devotes 2.5 pages out of 6 to Canada's supply management and agriculture, which gives Canadians very high prices. This is clearly a major irritant for the Americans, and it should be for Canadians as well. Canada's farm lobby is powerful and entrenched that both Carney and Poilievre are willing to go to bat for them to the hilt at the expense of the vast majority of Canadians, thereby possibly worsening the tariff response from the U.S. if there's complete intransigence from whoever is the next PM. So here are my thoughts. I have mixed feelings on this. I'll explain kind of where I stand. I do like the idea of knowing when you're buying some of the farm products, knowing that the quality is really good. And that usually comes with some of the regulations that we have in Canada. For example, I don't want to buy wheat that has been sprayed with, what's it called? I'm having a brain fart. Help me out. Kills the weeds. I should know that. I keep thinking for WD, but that's like the oil. My husband, I always call it this, and my husband Roundup. Yes, thank you. But there's another word for it that's like sounds like for something. Do you guys know the name? Glyphosate is another. Glyphosates. Maria said Monsanto juice, but So if it's sprayed with that, or if it's not sprayed with that, they have to have like a little thing. So I do like the idea of knowing when you buy something that it follows a certain criteria. I also understand in supply management when it comes to things like fish, because if we just open it right up like lobster and fish, then they'll go and catch all of the lobster and then there'll be none left. It'll decimate the amount of lobster and fish that we have in the ocean. So I understand that part, because if we open it up, it might just completely uh, destroy that industry and that environment. But I also believe that it's kind of unfair a little bit with, for example, the dairy. You can't just start a dairy farm in Canada. You need to buy quotas, and the quotas are so ridiculously expensive unless you had it handed down to you through generation. A new farmer usually cannot make a living off of being a dairy farmer. So that to me has like a negative connotation, because it takes away the freedom of opportunity from people. And I'm more of a libertarian mindset myself. I think government shouldn't be controlling everything. Maria says, now I guess it's bear juice. Brenda says $1 million per quota. It's extremely expensive. So it's not a reality that you can just go into dairy farming, even if you wanted to, versus in the US, it's open and it creates more competition. So, and I do know that these industries have lobbying people who work with politicians. They have a lot of high influence into politicians and the policies that they put forward. Now, I think what Trump is doing, or what the US is doing, is exposing this, because they said we can't compete with that market because we're not even allowed in. And I think that's part of the things where they're releasing dollar for dollar, not dollar, that's Canadian, but they're going to match the tariffs that Canada has on the US. So Brenda says, yeah, the US has no quotas. And I had Sylvain Charlebois on my show. Was it a couple weeks ago now? I would like to bring him back on so we can talk exactly about this. He's been extremely critical of the supply management and how it's actually creating higher food prices in Canada, which is what Rupa mentions here. Then that's why I brought it in, because I wanted, since Pierre was talking about saying he's going to defend that. Yeah, but to what extent? What if it's hurting Canadians? What if it's harming us by you defending it? So it's something I actually want to learn more about, and learn it from industry expert to see, okay, how is it affecting this? Like, I remember my husband and I, because we have land here, and we were looking at, well, how can we bring in an income from the land we have? We looked at sheep, we looked at goats, like milk goats, because you don't have dairy cartel with the milk goats. I say cartel because that's what my husband calls it. But even that is biased and slanted. But yeah, you can't have farm. You can only do so much, and it's like for personal, there's like a limit. Same thing with chickens. You can only have so many chickens. So is sheep under quotas as well? I don't think so. Sheep has no quotas. Okay, so why does sheep not have quota and dairy does? Why does chicken? Well, it's because there's these organization to make sure that people, it's really hard for people to get into the industry if they wanted to. So what are you guys' thoughts? Are you guys for it or against it? Here, what else I got here? I just got to put it on the other screen quickly so you guys can hear it.
Propose to the president to accelerate renegotiations of CUSMA, bringing in a new deal on trade and security. CUSMA must be renegotiated anyway, next year. Why wait? Why not get it done now? Why not end the uncertainty that is paralyzing both sides of the border and that is also costing us jobs today? We should set a firm date to finalize a new deal. And I will propose that both countries pause tariffs while we hammer out that deal. Keeping destructive tariffs in place kills jobs on both sides of the border, and so it serves no purpose at all. It does not make sense to go on killing jobs, disrupting markets, and weakening both our economies with on-again, off-again tariffs for months on end, as Canadian businesses and workers live in paralyzed terror. In the meantime, during negotiations, suspension of tariffs would have to go both ways. Either they take them off or we would not. We would require this to be fully reciprocal as we work towards getting a deal.
I like that idea. Pause the tariffs until we can make a deal. But I don't think Trump's going to go for that because he's using this to create pressure. Firecracker says, I think you should rent out your land for people to grow gardens. Well, then we could, then we need to figure out water, which the river's right next to it, but it's a lot harder to get irrigation, the proper irrigation. Like we can grab a bit of water here to feed like our cattle and stuff. Like there's allocations for that. But for like an actual business, we would need to go full on and get licensing and get like way fancier irrigation pump than we have. Like we're quite high up, so there's a lot of lift. Brenda talked about the sheep. She says the reason there's no quotas is that we can't even meet the sheep market in Canada. We've looked into that, like doing sheep, because sheep are a lot easier. I don't know how it would work for goats because we're right on the river, so we have a lot of coyotes and cougars and stuff that kind of roam, and there's the river. So I don't know if sheep and lamb tend to go in the river for a swim. It's harder to do fencing along the river because the river height changes, and you do want them to have access to water. Haiti says sheep and lamb market are so small in Canada that there's no oligarch trying to own it yet. Brenda says there are farmers offering community pasture here in Alberta. And the thing is, like, that probably would be a really good idea to do like community garden. But I don't want to add more work unless, well, maybe it would be worth it. I'm curious as to what that would bring in for income compared to time. Shelly Penner says, hi, Nadine. Hi, Shelly. Firecracker says, raw milk is supposed to be very healthy for you. Yeah, because it has probiotic and enzymes and stuff in it, which is killed during pasteurization. Brenda says, Great Pyrenees for protection. Yeah, and the biggest reason we haven't, we need to get a big barn or something for the winter because it's so expensive. Sorry, it's so cold. It also is expensive. That's why I said that word, because I had it in my mind. But the biggest reason is that we don't want to be locked where we can't leave for a couple of days or we can't leave for a week. I guess we could hire someone. It's all things my husband's kind of looking at, but I don't know. Like I said last week, we're looking at potentially relocating. If Mark Carney wins and things do really start going into the line of communism in Canada, I don't know if I'll stay. Brenda says, nope, in Alberta, no barns needed. They are the same as cows. To be honest, Brenda, I don't think they would survive here without a shelter blocking the wind or something blocking the wind, because we're right on the river and all that air comes up. Like when there's wind, like the city or everywhere else, it's like twice as bad here. If it says 16 kilometers an hour, like I remember when I was doing all the soffits, I was like 35 feet in the air in a lift when I was working on it. If it was 16 kilometers or higher for wind, it was like 50 up there and it would just sway, so we couldn't work on it. Firecracker says, mushroom. You're going to give a ton of suggestions. You're likely not going to come up with one that my husband hasn't obsessed and researched over and over. This is what he does in his fun time. He'll research like apple growing, making cider, growing mushrooms, growing microgreens, all of that, doing sheep, doing goats, like milking goats. Like he's obsessed over everything because he just wants to farm. I don't. He can be the farmer. It does not fit my personality type. They said one of the worst jobs you can do with someone with my personality type is farming. So don't go into farming. For myself, he can go into it all he wants, but right now we haven't really found the one that kind of, we also thought of doing like a campground. We are doing subdivision work. Like we're doing 8 lots down below. So we're subdividing 20 of our acres into lots, but that's like in the hill area. So it's not like flat, good farming land. Right by the river too. Brenda says goats are too much work. Yeah, I hear it's really hard to keep them. This is a video of, here, let's see. I'll just mute it because there has weird. Yukon Strong said, Pierre and CPC are pissing me off to no end these days and then some, but these crowds aren't matching the polls. I think it is likely he has regained the lead, at the very least in the popular vote. At this point, my gut says minority government. I don't know where this was. Do you guys know where this one was? Was it Winnipeg? Look at the size of that. Nice big flag in the back. Where is that though? Here, what's the next one I have on here? Oh, this video was a cute one.
For how long? How many hours?
I remember it playing last year when I think this was when he was campaigning for the leadership race, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what it's like to stand for hours?
She's been on her feet. She's been on her feet for how long? How many hours?
I don't know, like 2, 3.
2-3 hours in heels.
Hurts.
Does that mean I have to wear the heels next time?
Yeah,
Then you're going to carry me to the car.
I can do it. What's wrong with
Okay, we'll see. That's tomorrow's plan.
That was a really cute moment that they had, but her heels were really high. Anyways, Brittany shared that earlier. I think it's time to share this wholesome video. It kind of gives you a glimpse into their relationship and friendship that they have. Anyways, when she shared it, I was like, I've talked about this before. The more he does content like that, I think the more people will resonate. Oh, I don't have it here, but have you guys heard of the controversy where Pierre Poilievre is, he was at a presser and he was talking about how people are not starting a family because they can't afford a home and stuff, but he used the word biological clock. And now the left is like saying that how a misogynistic, let's see if I can find it. How misogynistic that is to point out biological clock. Probably could have used a better word, but the fact is what they're not doing is talking about the very real issue that
We will not forget.
that it's true. What he stated is a fact.
We will not forget that young 36-year-old couple whose biological clock is running out faster than they can afford to buy a home and have kids. We will not forget that.
But it's true. Anyways, there's this like massive outrage campaign. You see that all the time, but none of them want to address the fact that this is a reality for a lot of Canadians and a reality that the left or the liberals have caused with their policies over the last 10 years. The reason people can't afford a home is because they immigrated way too many people in that created an environment where there's not enough homes for the people here, so it drove up the cost. And yeah, Squirrel says he's speaking to people that want to have a family, and yes, it's true, he said. Pierre just wants Canadians to be able to buy a home and have a family. Sad they attack his words for this. But you know what? I think it's going to backfire because now it's bringing awareness to what he's saying. This is true. Like if you look at the polls, the voting intention of the younger people who want to have a family, who have a family, or who are thinking of having one in the future, they're all the ones who are polling to vote conservatives. It's the boomers who are all done having kids who are voting liberal. They're the ones who are not necessarily affected by this because most of them own their own homes already. Maria says smaller farms can't survive, forced to rent or sell. Yeah, it's true. Not only that, like most of them, farming is their second job because they need a main job to be able to pay for the land. Rory said, doesn't say their biological clock, not her biological clock. Well, that's a fact. Like women being able to have kids stops at a certain age. Like I myself, like I know my clock is ticking. I'm 40 years old. And my husband and I have talked about having another one where we're not 100% decided, but we're not decided against it either. But I also realize I'm 40, and not only that, the longer you wait, the more chances, the more risk increase of having a child that has physical disability or physical ailment. So it's those risks are much lower the younger you are. And not just that, miscarriages as well. The rate of miscarriages is super high. And as someone who's gone through two, like 4 years ago, like I don't wish that on anyone. Linda says the left doesn't believe in any biological facts. And these are the same people who were like bragging and talking about wearing period bracelets. Firecracker says, look at Bill Gates buying up all that farmland in the US. Yeah, it's true. Okay. Let's talk about the Gilmore Girls. I had to use that in the title because but I took the S out, Gilmore Girl. So Mario Zelaya wrote, I believe this is a lesson on how to aspire to be a journalist and completely burn that bridge. Why would you record that conversation and weaponize it against the very company that offered you the opportunity? I did not know you could shame someone into wanting you back. So what he's I'm not going to play the video because it's quite long, but wait, where's the other one? I thought I had another story about Rachel. It might be in the wrong order. So Rachel Gilmore, I don't know if you know her, but she was someone that was telling people not to like telling families not to invite your unvaccinated family member over for Thanksgiving. That's kind of when she kind of started making headways where people were hearing about her on Twitter. And then she did a lot of like comments and posts about a lot of conservative candidates, completely biased, completely non-factual. She would actually make up things, make insinuation about people, tried to make links, paint pictures, not a non-biased reporting whatsoever. She's probably one of the most biased reporter there is, and she's extremely far left as well. So basically the public trust in Rachel Gilmore is not high. The only people who like her are far left people that are like her. They're just the same as her. So she feeds those people. Anyways, the CTV had hired her and they said they were going to put her on a fact checking part of an episode. So every week she would fact check what was said and what happened during the campaign trail. Every conservative out there was outraged by this only because she's been so extremely biased in her reporting, and not someone who actually fact checks. She talks about it a lot, but she doesn't actually fact check. She spreads narratives constantly. And there are people like that as well on the right. Like Rachel Gilmore is not the only one. We have similar type of people on the right who does similar things. And sometimes they share truthful things, but then they spread narratives to try to make people to believe a specific narrative that's not actually based in facts. And the way they do that is they'll spread the narrative, do glimpse of something without actually showing. And the majority of people don't actually go and dig into what they show to see that it's not actually true, but they'll show it and make it seem very much like it's true. A case of that on the right would be Ian Carroll. Sometimes he shares really truthful things, but he does share narratives all the time. So he has a bias on the right. So she's the example of that on the left. But anyways, now she gets fired yesterday. I think it was yesterday. She does this big video crying about, this is like the now the third or fourth time she's been fired. Some of it was layoffs in the past. And then she does this video crying, but this is a new video that she's done where she actually recorded a video conversation, a phone conversation. I'll play some of it with CTV, and then she posts that. And also, she's blaming conservatives for getting fired, saying that Polyev and conservatives are the one who got her fired.
For an expert fee, and I'm happy to pay that out because we're the ones canceling it if that helps in any way. I mean, it doesn't, because I know that the appearance itself would have been valuable as well.
Yeah, it would have gone a long way to pushing back against the bad faith narratives out there. But
and there may be a time and a place down the road where we can delve into it. After an election campaign, or maybe there's something we can do down the road, because
so there's like a 9-minute video. Sorry, I can't make it any louder. I don't know why it's so low. But if you go see this post here by Mario Zelaya, he had an exchange with her. She was lying. She targeted him. She'll do like targeting campaigns too with conservatives. She did it with Brittany. I don't know if you guys know Brittany. If you're not on Twitter, you probably don't know a lot of these people because that's where they have like most of their followers. But Brittany is someone who's kind of been exposing a lot of stuff. Let's see if I can find her account. But Brittany was targeted and doxxed by Rachel Gilmore. Here. Oh, am I spelling it wrong? Brit. I'll see if I can. We've messaged before. I'll see if I can search my messages. I want to find it. It's harder to search messages on the desktop version. So there's two Brittany. Or it might just be Brit. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? I can't find her account. Anyways, when I'll bring it up next time if I can find it. But so Brittany, she's from BC, but it's not the blonde Brittany, it's the darker hair Brittany. And she dressed as Rachel Gilmore for Halloween after all of this happened. But Rachel Gilmore doxed her and publicly posted what her work location was to try to get Brittany fired. So, and she did the same thing with Mario, as in she posted what businesses he owns so that people could spam his reviews and do negative reviews on Mario. And the funny thing is it kind of backfired because when you have like campaigns like that against you, Google reviews and some of them will go and remove those reviews. So they're not there anymore, and his business increased by conservatives wanting to support him. So, but yeah, so that's Rachel Gilmore. That's who CTV hired to fact check the campaign trail. Okay, next topic. Donald Trump made a post. I can't remember what time that was. Does it say here? I don't know. It was posted at 5 a.m. It says Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Rand Paul of also of Kentucky, will hopefully get on the Republican bandwagon for a change and fight the Democrats' wild and flagrant push to not penalize Canada for the sale into our country of large amounts of fentanyl by tariffing the value of this horrible and deadly drug in order to make it more costly to distribute and buy. They are playing with the lives of the American people and right into the hands of the radical left, Democrats, and drug cartel. The Senate bill is just a ploy of the Dems to show and expose the weakness of certain Republicans, namely these four, and that it is not going anywhere because the House will never approve it, and I, as your president, will never sign it. Why are they allowing fentanyl to pour into our country unchecked without penalties? What is wrong with them other than suffering from TDS, commonly known, or Trump derangement syndrome, commonly known as TDS? Who can want this to happen to our beautiful families, and why? To the people of the great Kentucky states of Kentucky, Alaska, Maine, please contact these senators and get them to finally adhere to Republican values and ideas. They have been extremely difficult to deal with and unbelievably disloyal to hardworking Majority Leader John Thune and the Republican Party itself. Make America great again. So the left has been posting about how Trump thinks that we have tariffs on fentanyl. So I don't know if you've seen that. Oh, yes. Jonathan said it's Brittany Brat World. That's why it wasn't coming up. That's why. I'll see if I can bring it up. Thanks, Jonathan. Sorry, I'm just seeing your comment now. But so they're saying that he thinks that drugs are actually tariffed, which I don't think that that's what this message is, but this is just another example. Could it have been worded better? Yes, but I know what he's saying. It's not the cost of fentanyl, it's the cost of what fentanyl is doing to the country. So the way he writes it, for a change, fight the Democrats' wild, flagrant push to not penalize Canada for the sale into our country of large amounts of fentanyl by tariffing the value of this horrible and deadly drug in order to make it more costly to distribute and buy. Maybe that's what he meant, but I didn't see it that way. I sent it as well. If you're going to allow it to occur or allow it to come into Canada without fighting to stop it, then we're going to charge you back the value of it, not as in the drugs, but the effects that it's having in our country. I think that's what he meant. But anyways, it's interesting just seeing the flip that we're seeing, saying, oh, he thinks illegal drugs are tariff. It's not like people declare it at the border. I don't think he thinks that for a second. Yes, Maria is talking about something that I'm going to talk about. I have that next, about the guy who docks the Freedom Convoy and gives Singo. It's the next subject I have on the list. But anyways, that's just another example of things. Now, I don't know if the tariffs have started, the matching of the tariffs. I didn't see anything this morning. It wasn't like blatant, oh, it's there. But here's a post by the food professor. Numerous Canadian crops are currently subject to tariffs right now. 25% on durum wheat, 25% on lentils, 100% on canola. Farmers are the backbone of Canada. Politicians, where's the plan? Hasn't even been addressed. I'll do the quickly the story on on that guy. Where did it go? I thought I had it here. Yeah, right here. Okay. Whoops. That's when I do this, it's like when I had the old interview, that's one of the camera. Oh, for some reason it stopped streaming on X. Edit. Let's see if I can do that. Let's see if it works. It's not working. Maybe something's happening with X right now. They're going to keep trying to connect it. So let's see. Okay, let's share this story. Give Go are planning to pursue legal action against hacker Aubrey Caudle in Canada and the US. Here are some of the update and news directly from Jacob Well, co-founder of Give Go. Over the past 24 hours, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I've been back and forth with Jacob via DM and in the comment section of my initial posts attached below. Some of what we discuss, I have been given permission to share with you. Here's a brief summary of what we've discussed thus far. I'll keep you all posted of future updates that he sends me after his legal team speaks to the DOJ and police. But this is this guy, I don't know if you saw the video, he bragged on a live stream about hacking Give Go and releasing all that information. Like people were fired, people were like businesses were targeted based on the information that was released. So like it released also addresses of where people lived that had donated, even if it was just like $5, $10. So this guy hacked it, but he also hacked something else in the US. I talked about it, I think on Friday, on Monday, in the episode that he was now getting charged and for hacking into something, the Republican Party, maybe of Texas, I think it was. Anyway, so now there's the Give Go is looking into charging him for the hacking as well. If you go see this, it's Sean Rickard that posted this. You know what? He might be a really good person to have on the show. I'm going to reach out to him after and see if he'll come on the show. We can talk about this. Jacob says on Sean's post, about time we sent all his information over to the Biden DOJ and Secret Service and they did nothing with it. We'll be reaching out to the prosecution to get charges added for Give Go. That's Jacob's commenting on Sean Rickard's post. Rickard on Sean's post. Jacobs DMs him, thanks. FYI, we had cyber insurance policy in place when this happened and we made a claim as a result. I've also updated our insurer on the information provided and we will see if they have interest in recovery against him as well. I have a call soon with the detectives who worked our case originally. We'll get an update once I talk to him. Other questions we need answered which may be revealed as a result of these new investigation. These are the questions that Sean, right? I can't believe I already forgot. Sean says, why did the Trudeau government and the RCMP seemingly turn a blind eye and downplay Caudle's crime? How much of the illegally obtained information that Caudle shared did the Trudeau government utilize to justify their unlawful invocation of the EMA and freezing of Canadians' bank account? Shouldn't there be a full RCMP investigation into whether or not the Trudeau government illegally weaponized proceeds of cybercrime to further their political agenda and to deter, silence, punish, and even vindictively attack Canadians who dared to question their policies? Anyways, very interesting story. A lot of people saying karma is just coming to get him back. Now, another story. This is where I share the tea on Elon Musk. This is the last story too. So on Valentine's Day, Ashley St. Clair made this post basically saying, yeah, I had a baby with Elon Musk. I asked you to give me privacy during this time. Nobody knew about this. So she goes and publicly says it and asks for privacy on Valentine's Day. It was just a really weird post. A lot of people weighed in on it. And there's been a few comments that she's made publicly, and Elon Musk is saying, like, why are you doing this? Like posting this online. This is the more recent one. So she made this video about her returning her Tesla. This is Laura Loomer. I've shared opinion about her before, but she does report on some stuff before. She's not my cup of tea, but I'm going to share it anyways. She says, gold digger. Look, I don't like her wording, but Elon Musk commented on it. So I kind of have to share it. Laura says gold digger and professional gaslighter St. Clair was caught on camera outside of ritzy Manhattan condo paid for by her sugar daddy, Elon Musk, selling her $100,000 Tesla she was gifted to her. She said was gifted to her by Elon Musk during their romantic relationship. She said she's selling it to make up for $100,000 in alleged cuts to her child support payments from Elon. She took a jab at Elon Musk, telling people to check the Tesla stock, adding, I'm not the only one cleaning up after Elon's mess. Ashley, as I reported, has hired anti-Trump lawyer to sue Elon Musk. He was ordered by the courts to take a paternity test. I don't know if the child is mine. So this is Elon Musk responding. I don't know if the child is mine or not, but I'm not against finding out. No court order is needed. Despite not knowing for sure, I have given Ashley $2.5 million and I'm sending her $500K a year. And then Ashley responds to that. Elon, we asked you to confirm paternity through a test before our child, who you name, was even born. You refused. And you weren't sending me money. You were sending support for our child that you thought was necessary until you withdrew most of it to maintain control and punish me for disobedience. But you're really only punishing your son. It's ironic that your last efforts in court was to try to gag me while you use social media channels you literally own to distribute derogatory messages about me and our child to the entire world. It's all about control with you, and everyone can see it. America needs you to grow up, you petulant man-child. Anyways, there's a ton of comments under that. Definitely Ray showed in the comments. Now, the interesting part about that is she was talking about she asked for a paternity test before the child was born. Now, I don't know if there's ways of doing it safer, but usually to do that, you got to take amniotic fluids, and that increases risk of preterm delivery, even risk to baby. So I could see why someone would want to do that. But what are you guys' thoughts? I just thought it was so interesting. And I want to share something. When you start posting things like that, when you share a child with someone, as someone who, like, I'm in a co-parenting relationship with my ex, that my two older children are from a previous marriage, and you'll never hear me say anything negative about him online, because the only people that would affect, and same thing, he never says anything negative about me. Do we have different parenting style? Yes, we respect and embrace the other parents' decision on how they want to run the household, how they want to raise the children, but we have an ideal co-parenting relationship. We communicate really well. We don't hold grudges or animosity. We don't use the kids against each other in order to spread an agenda or spread what they want to happen or try to control. Now, what I find really sad about this whole situation is that's what's happening with these kids, and that this kid, maybe with other ones, I don't know. But the fact that they're playing this publicly for everyone to see, I think both are in the wrong on this. And And I think it should be kept privately for the sake of the child. But that's not what's happening. Anyways, I there's a lot of talks about this right now. There's talks about Elon Musk potentially stepping down. But I just thought it really interesting, and I wanted to talk about it to bring light on my thoughts on that aspect. As someone who has a co-parenting relationship with someone I'm not in a marriage or relationship with anymore. And I think about, like, when that kid is older, like, that's always gonna be there for them. Like, that's always gonna be something that's gonna be in the background. And do I think Elon Musk should be doing more? Probably. Not only the paternity test, but I think being a father is way more than just providing DNA for that child. I think being a father is being present, being there for that child. We all know what the statistics of fatherless children and how much that affects them in their lives. And as someone who had mostly one of my parents not involved much in my life, I know what it does to a child that doesn't have that. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about it. What else do I have here? I think this kind of has to do with the story of the whole being offended by the comment biological clock. I just realized it was out of order. That's why I didn't talk about it. But Yasir Nagvi, I don't know how to say it, says absurd, offensive. He's not even hiding it anymore. This is blatant misogyny. If this is how he sees women, imagine what he thinks about their right to choose. And then Jamie posted, just who I want to be lectured by on how to talk about women. So this there's a book on condoning hitting wives features a letter from Ontario Labor Minister Yasir Nagvi. Who is he? Let's see. Does it say? Do you guys know who he is? I wonder what that letter said. The leader Ottawa Centre needs to stand up for. What is Ottawa Centre? Is he running to be a Liberal candidate? You know what I find funny is you'll have like something like this, they'll all jump in on it and start talking about it. And they'll all have like the similar messages. Squirrel Nut says, but is it Elon's kids? That's why we do DNA. Yeah, he said he's willing to do it. He's like, you don't need a court order to do that. So, but I just found that wording interesting that she said we asked you to do it before he was born. So that would mean like doing like the risky part, like taking a DNA test before a child is born does come with risks. And it makes me question, why would she want to put her child through that risk before he's born? You can just do it after the baby's born. But okay, I think that's it. Yeah, and I have to go. It's 2:30. I have to leave within 5 minutes to go pick up my son. There's my alarm to remind myself. But okay, I will see you guys on Friday. Again, if you're new, I don't do a show every day now. I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I need to get this house finished. And that's what I was working on yesterday. And not only that, I need to also work on doing short clips. But yesterday I got my router table all set up to do crown molding. So I'm making my own crown molding out of wood. You can't see it here, but we're going to put the crown molding throughout the house. The inside, the only thing left inside is mostly the trim work. So baseboard, crown molding, trim work around the door, which you can't see is not fully finished. But I will be back on Friday, and we're probably going to add like an episode per week as well with my husband. We just haven't decided when, but yeah, I will let you guys go and I'll see you on Friday.